Hello, world and universe. Welcome to the Trevor Donald Experience. Manifest your truth. And if you're new to the channel, please hit that like and subscribe button. And for all my continued followers, I want to say thank you. And this is just an opinion-based video channel where I try to open your eyes and ears to some of the travails and trepidations that we go through in life throughout our cities, our states, our country, and sometimes around the world. And this one I got for you today is about a pastor out of Houston who was posing as a man who was posing as a pastor who really wasn't. And he ended up marrying at least 10 women over a 20-year period and has gotten caught and arrested for polygamy. So here we go. Posing as a pastor, man had at least 10 wives, prosecutors say. The Houston man was sentenced last week to 3 years in prison after he married a woman in Kentucky, violating the conditions of his probation on a bigamy charge, prosecutors said. He traveled around the country visiting small black churches where he presented himself as a pastor or a bishop. But prosecutors said they had found no evidence that Mr. Orlando Coleman, 51, of Houston, was a member of the clergy, and they contend he used the claim to win the trust of church-going women, at least 10 of whom he married over the last 2 decades. That's right. It was a long con that came to an end last week, prosecutors said, when Mr. Coleman was sentenced to 3 years in prison after he married a woman in Kentucky, violating the conditions of his probation on a bigamy charge. Vanessa Goosen, an assistant district attorney in Harris County, Texas, who prosecuted Mr. Coleman, said that investigators believe his first marriage was in 2001 and that he married women for financial gain. Over the years, she said, Mr. Coleman traveled to, now listen to these places, Delaware, Texas, Kentucky, Nebraska, Pennsylvania, Iowa, North Carolina, Virginia, and other states to meet women. This was his full-time job. He was a real con. Where did he get the money to do all this traveling? After introducing himself as a Protestant pastor or bishop, he would propose marriage to bolster his claim to be a member of the clergy, Ms. Goosen said. If a woman accepted, she said, he would move in with her and she would pay for his housing, food, and bills. That's the only thing he had to offer and to validate his word, the proposal to marry. That was something big, Ms. Goosen said in an interview on Wednesday. Getting proposed to was a big gesture for these women, and that corroborated his guise that he's a godly person. After Mr. Coleman left his wives, the prosecutor said some of them filed for divorce. Mr. Coleman's lawyer did not respond on Wednesday and Thursday to messages seeking comment. 2 of the women Mr. Coleman married could not be reached at numbers listed under their names. Prosecutors said Mr. Coleman's con began to unravel after he married a Houston woman in 2021. Okay, now follow this. This is how he got caught again. 5 months into their marriage, Mr. Coleman's new wife found out that he was receiving money from a woman in Virginia, prosecutors said. According to court documents, the wife in Houston contacted the woman in Virginia via Facebook, and they began to discuss Mr. Coleman. They say a lot of times that this social media stuff, Facebook and Instagram, has gotten a lot of people in trouble. The woman in Virginia told Mr. Coleman's wife in Houston that she had been married to Mr. Coleman since 2019 and provided her with a copy of their marriage certificate, court documents say. The wife in Virginia told Mr. Coleman's new wife that she and Mr. Coleman had never divorced, but had separated in 2021 when he moved to Texas, court documents say. 2 weeks after the move, Mr. Coleman married the woman in Houston, court documents say. I hope you all are following this. The Houston woman contacted the authorities, and the Harris County Sheriff's Office investigated and filed bigamy charges. Mr. Coleman pleaded guilty to bigamy, a felony in Texas, in July 2023 in exchange for 3 years of probation and the chance to have his record cleared. But only 2 months after he was placed on probation, 2 months, prosecutors said, he did it again. He married a woman in Kentucky while still married to the woman in Virginia. What is he, addicted to marriage? It's something mental. Mental illness is a real thing. I keep telling folks that they'll follow me on my channel. After learning about the new marriage, prosecutors filed a motion to revoke his probation. Now, he was on probation, and not 2 months later, he did it again. At a hearing on March 11th, a judge agreed to the motion and imposed a 3-year sentence. In a handwritten letter before his sentencing, Mr. Coleman had asked the court to continue his probation and to not only judge my case, but judge my heart. So he's going to sweet talk the court right out of trying not to go to jail. That didn't work. He said he never imagined that his latest wife would come into my life and become my everything. He said he believed he was free to marry her because he believed his previous marriage had ended in an annulment or divorce. How would he know that if he didn't sign any paperwork? If I knew getting married was not allowed, he wrote, I would have waited. That's not true. You did it 10 times. That's why you've been charged for bigamy. Mr. Coleman also wrote of having survived sexual abuse as a child, and he said that growing up, he didn't know love on any level. He said in the letter that he hoped to put the bigamy charge behind him and return to the church we pastor in Kentucky, helping to feed and clothe people. Next to his name, he wrote PhD, THD, DD, indicating he held degrees as a Doctor of Philosophy, Doctor of Theology, and Doctor of Divinity. Prosecutors said there was no evidence that Mr. Coleman held any advanced degrees. Ms. Goosen said that Mr. Coleman's victims, stung by his behavior, supported the revocation of his probation. From my conversations with them, they are very upset, she said. They wanted him to go to prison because they felt this person abused their trust based on a title, and they believed he would do it again. I tell you, if you follow me, I try to come up with some unique stories. I talk a lot about gun violence and that stuff and fighting in schools because I am making our communities much healthier and safer. But I also try to come up with some that are just straight out weird or straight out of a movie script. And I don't think this individual, this man, knows anything about love. And I think for men or women, whether you're in church or under any other roof or building, it could be work, corporate America, there are kind people and there are people that are not to be trusted. And there's always been a veil in the church that if you're a church-going person, that means you're a good person, and then that's not true. My montage has always been, whether it's been in business, especially in business, but in friendships, if somebody tells me immediately that God brought them to me or God brought us together, I always throw up a red flag. It even is amazing when you hear guys that win the Super Bowl in the NFL and the NBA, they thank God and all this kinds of stuff. I know they're kind of just saying it, but I don't think God, if there's a true ultimate being and source, is worrying about if you win a football game, let alone the Super Bowl or the NBA Finals or the World Series. I think the God thing gets thrown around way too much. I am a God-fearing person, believe in God, and I'm a spiritually driven person, but I don't pontificate and procrastinate it all the time. My relationship with my God is personal and is not through somebody else. I think people should watch out for these prosperity preachers that are driving around in Rolls Royces and $20 million homes and making money each and every week. To me, they're just marketing guys that are selling you on them. Your vestige and your vehicle to God is a symbiotic relationship with that spirit. It's not through another human being. We're all just vessels trying to be the best that we can be. Tell me what you think about this man posing as a pastor.